Hey, welcome back to Wrestling Travel Presents the Lockdown Sessions, which is actually presented to us, as always, from our friends over in New York City, True Heel Heat podcast, True Heel Heat Wrestling. Get a hold of those guys. I always say if you want to listen to a really great wrestling podcast, check out True Heel Heat. If you want to listen to two wrestling podcasts this week, check Wrestling Travel out as well, as I think we are going to drop episode 8. But enough about that. Let's get to our special guest of the day. We'd like to welcome Jake Logan. Jake, welcome to the show.
Hey, man, I appreciate you having me on.
Hey, absolutely, man. We got a lot I want to talk about with you. One of the main things I want to talk about is coming up in just a couple days. You're going to be in Dallas, Texas at the Independent Wrestling Expo. But before we get there, we got a lot of history to catch up on. Jake, how long have you been in the business?
Let's see. I took my very first bump at 8 years old. So I've been around the business for going on 20 years, but I've been wrestling professionally for 10.
All right, let's back it up here. You got family in the business, or how are you taking a bump at 8 years old?
So I was born in Landstuhl, Germany. I'm a military brat. When I moved to Hinesville, Georgia at 3 months old. And then my dad, as I was growing up, he was always watching professional wrestling. It was always on TV. So of course, I'm the kid. I want to see what's colorful on TV. So I'm hooked instantly. It was always my dad's dream to run his own professional wrestling business. And a couple of moves later, still in Georgia, he ended up getting involved in the business. He became a manager at a show in Fort Valley, Georgia. They're no longer around. But yeah, he donned the name Jack Logan, and he started it out that way. We ended up moving to Amarillo, Texas. By the time I was 8 years old, he bought himself a ring after getting to know a couple of the guys who were younger in the business out there. One of them being the son of the legendary Tom Jones, Mr. Ebony Tom Jones. Cody Jones was his son. And he was my first actual kind of trainer. At 8 years old, I was out there in the ring with all these 20 guys that are in their 20s, 30s, 40s. And, I'm just trying to kill it as much as I can in the ring with them, doing everything my dad allowed me to do, And then my dad always told me once I turned 17, I could start wrestling. Well, turns out my 17th birthday, I had my very first match, and it was against Cody Jones.
Wow. That is awesome. So at 17, so you've been in the business for how long now? I'm not sure. I was so fascinated. 10 years. All right. Is Dad still in the business?
Yeah, he still runs every Saturday night in Amarillo, Texas. I currently live in Ocala, Florida now. Of course, with the whole coronavirus thing, he's not being able to run at the moment. He's got his hands on a brand new building. And from the pictures, I love every bit of it. And I can't wait to go back in November.
Just so we can follow it, and I don't want to forget to ask you at the end of the interview, what is Dad's promotion called?
It's Top of Texas Pro Wrestling. You can follow my dad on Facebook or Instagram at Jack Logan, Top of Texas. It's like Jack Logan _TOT on Instagram. On Facebook, he's Jack Logan, and then you can follow the Top of Texas Pro Wrestling page at Top of Texas Pro Wrestling.
Did they have a Twitter at all?
I'm not well, they have one. I don't remember the handle.
We'll get it for everybody. You got to remember, we're in the UK and Twitter is king. So
right.
That's what I gotta remember. I got a couple people I've interviewed that they're like, I don't have Twitter, and I'm like, help me out, get Twitter. So no, well, for Top of Texas, now I've interviewed quite a number of wrestlers from Texas, as you can imagine, leading up to the expo, and Top of Texas is a name that I've heard drop quite a bit. So obviously doing a lot of things right in that promotion.
Yeah, that's I mean, not just because I was the promoter's son, but it was my choice to pick that location whenever I picked up the NWA National Heavyweight Championship. It was the youngest person in history to hold it. Um, I've done a lot of things in that building because it's home for me.
What's so how, you said it's in Amarillo, right?
Yes, sir.
That's funk country.
Yes, sir.
Right. So have you gotten a chance to meet a legend like Terry or Dory Jr. at all?
So that's kind of another story in itself. So in 2013, I had already been wrestling for 3 years. My dad, he had already met Terry Funk quite a bit. And Terry had told my dad that Dory Funk Jr. ran a school in Ocala, Florida. So my dad thinking, okay, Funk's from Amarillo. I'm from Amarillo. How great would it be to send me over there and pick up some extra training from Amarillo legend and the WWE Hall of Famer, you know? So in 2013, I came out to Ocala, Florida, spent a couple of months with Dory Funk Jr. And when I got there, man, I thought I knew the business like the back of my hand. I was super young in the business, super arrogant, super cocky. When I stepped foot in that door, Dory tore me to shreds. It was a very, very humbling experience, and I'll always thank Dory for that opportunity. And I still keep in touch with Dory to this day, being that I live in Ocala, Florida now. But yeah, I spent a few months with Dory. Went back to Amarillo, Texas after that, and did a couple of seminars with Terry Funk, and it was really cool, man. I had these shirts going for a while. I don't have them anymore, but I plan to get some like retro Jake Logan shirts out. Dory said that I could use the term funk approved. Well, I asked Terry the same thing, so he approved it as well. So I'm going to get Jake Logan on the front of a shirt and then funk approved ×2 on the back.
That's awesome. That's a cool story. Now is Dory's getting up there? Does he still have a school open in Ocala? Obviously, right now during the pandemic, he might not. But
Yeah. Dory's running Bang TV. He's got it's called the Dory Funk Arena or Soundstage. Him and his wife Marty Funk run it together, and they have a few students up there who are well on their way to becoming good professionals in the business. I still, like I said, I still keep in touch with Dory. Um, I love that man. He helped me out so much, and I could never thank him enough for it.
awesome. Sometimes the best way to thank him is just to be going out and killing it,
That's right.
ring all over. Um, so when you're growing up, I imagine that you look up to the guys in your dad's promotion. But can you remember a time like turning on watching TV with your dad? Like, who were the guys on TV that kind of caught your eye? Who did you kind of idolize when you were a child?
So, uh, growing up around wrestling, of course, it was pretty much in my life for most of my life. But before my dad ever opened up his own place or anything, like I said, it was wrestling was on TV 24/7. And the match that really caught my eye the most, that made me want to become a professional wrestler, was Chris Jericho versus Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania 19. Chris Jericho is my idol. I not to sound like the biggest mark on the planet, but I've loved everything about Chris Jericho, from his reinventions to his new characters to the clothes he wore out to the ring to his heel personas, his babyface personas. Everything about that dude is professional wrestling.
Now, speaking of Shawn Michaels and Jericho, I'm looking at my DVDs right now, and I can't remember the pay-per-view. But do you remember the Jericho Shawn Michaels unsanctioned match? Uh,
Yeah,
dude, I thought that was some of the best storytelling and good facials and everything in that match. Really, really sucked me into
absolutely.
that storyline. I think Jericho accidentally punched Shawn Michaels' wife, and man, was that great! That was such a great match. It sticks out in my head.
Loved it. I was glued to the TV for that feud.
That was so good. We're starting off on the same page. That's fantastic. And Jericho, of course, the first AEW champion, continues to go out there. Whether he's on the announcing, uh, just doing a skit with, not a skit, but like what do you call it? This little thing he had with Orange Cassidy, where a debate.
Oh yeah.
That's what I'm talking about. I don't want to use the word skit at all. But he just continues to just further the business and do everything at pushing 50 years old. The guy's fantastic.
Yeah, man. Like I said, everything about that man is professional wrestling. I've tried to model him or model my career after him in some ways. I don't want to be exactly like Chris Jericho because there's only one Chris Jericho, just like I want there to be just one Jake Logan. So, but definitely Chris Jericho's up there.
Have you had a chance to meet Chris or be in the ring with him? I imagine he hasn't done too much. He's always he's on the bigger stage actually for the last 10 years, so maybe not.
So before AEW and everything, I did some extra talent work with WWE whenever Jericho and Kevin Owens were doing the friendship thing, and they were in a feud with Roman. And I came in as extra talent, and so I did a 4-day stint with WWE. It was NXT Takeover on Saturday, the Royal Rumble on Sunday, Monday Night Raw that Monday, and then SmackDown that Tuesday. Well, they were doing something with Braun Strowman and Chris Jericho on that Monday, and Braun had just put Chris through the announce table. And I was one of the guys that had to run out there and check on Chris, make sure he was okay and everything like that. Well, I guess Chris didn't know that I was going to be one of the guys that was checking in on him. And so as soon as he went through the table, we ran out there to check on him. And I'm talking to Chris. I'm like, you okay? Are you okay? Are you okay? He looks up at me. He's like, man, who the are you? He thought I was like a fan that jumped the barricade or something. He told me in the back I was ready to stand up and punch you. And I'm like, that makes no sense. I'm wearing a WWE shirt. Like,
I'm just doing what they tell me to.
But it was really cool. Chris is a very nice guy. But man, it's like it's crazy getting to meet your idols. It's leg trembling.
It is, and that's fun. That's a great way to meet one of your idols is by having them go, "Who the hell are you?"
Mm-hmm.
I talk about at a show in 2015, and I'm gonna get his book signed. The hardcore legend himself, Mick Foley. So I just jump in the line, gonna get, and right as I get up, and I'm expecting this great, exchange, and the hardcore champ looks at me and just lets out the biggest yawn. And I'm like, not exactly how I pictured this going, but, some people are like, were you upset by that? And I go, nah, dude, it makes a great story. I even said, no, wow, not the way I expected to beat the hardcore champ, but he, those guys driving all over the place, not just wrestling, but appearances and trying to catch up on sleep. And I'm glad to hear it because a lot of the peers in the business will say, I'm not a mark. I've heard some people say, I'm not a mark. You got your picture taken with so-and-so. And I'm like, you know what? Go to hell. We're all marks or we wouldn't be doing what we're doing.
That's right.
I went to a show last fall just because Baron Von Raschke was on it. I bought a ticket, and you're damn right. I got my picture taken with him.
That's
and,
awesome.
Had him sign the poster because when I was a kid, I had met him and had an autograph, and gosh knows where it went. So if I got a chance to get Baron Von Raschke's autograph and a picture, I'm doing it.
There you go, man. That's awesome.
Good to hear. And I always get the no matter how it is, when you see a guy that's on TV, I get a little bit, on the outside, calm, cool, but on the inside, the heart's ticking just a little bit faster, and I don't know what it is.
Absolutely.
So, how many? Now, speaking, okay, you met Jericho. You got to do some backstage stuff and extra work with WWE. But how about getting in the ring in a 10-year career? A lot of people out here, when I do interviews, they want to know the guy I'm interviewing. What kind of names have they stepped in the ring with? You got a list of names you can give us?
I almost got to have a dark match on SmackDown. Right before SmackDown tapings. It was going to be me and Sammy Guevara against the Los Matadores. but it ended up never happening. However, as far as names that I've gone against, I've wrestled against the likes of Matt Hardy, Paul London, Chris Masters, Rob Conway, Charlie Haas, Lance Archer. My gosh, Rodney Mack. List goes on, man. Of course, I'll be wrestling Matt Sydal tomorrow night.
Now,
Hopefully.
let's talk about that. Now, you're in the 4-man tournament.
Mm-hmm.
And I just interviewed Matt Sydal, and that's going to drop here tomorrow, I think, on Wrestling Travel's YouTube. But is there a little bit? I seen a little war of words on Twitter between you two.
Look, man, Matt's not taking me seriously. I don't know if it's because he's never met me before or what have you, but look, my first match is against Lowrider. Matt's first match is against Jordan Oliver. And damn it, he better win because I already know I'm going to beat Lowrider. No offense to Lowrider. He's a great guy. He's been shown on AEW. He's a great talent. But I've been in this business longer. I've got the experience. I know I'm going to beat him. Matt, you've got the experience over Jordan Oliver. Come on, man. It's obvious. You and me are going to step into that ring. I'm going to beat you. 1, 2, 3. And then after that, you can shake my hand like a man and take me seriously.
Well, yeah, that's just one of the matches we're looking forward to. Now, Lowrider, let's just say, I don't want to tell you how to run your business. You know, you've been a pro for 10 years, but are you taking that guy a little lightly, or are you got to get the side out?
I'm not taking Lowrider lightly. I know him and I are going to have a great back and forth match. Like I said, he's been up there on AEW. He's done a lot. He's traveled, I think all around the world. I think he's been in Mexico, almost all over the nation. You know, I just it's one of those things, man. Like you said, I got to get to Matt Sydal. I got to get to him. I got to check that name on my list.
I think it's coming to me now. The tweet I read, I know Matt Sydal is going to be doing a seminar there. And I believe the tweet was, everybody is welcome, but not you, Jake Logan. Now,
Yeah, he was trying to be real cute.
I love this. I mean, if I'm a fan and I'm anywhere near Dallas, Texas, there's a million different reasons to be there, but this is another big one right here to see you and Matt Sydal.
You know, I'm not invited to his seminar, but, you know, I show up where I want to show up. So I might fire a couple of warning shots after Matt gets done with his seminar. You know, who knows?
Wow, this is just awesome. Tell me what it's like now. Have you been able to the Independent Wrestling Expo? Is this going to be your first time in the ring in front of fans, or have you been able to get a few matches in the last few weeks?
So I'll backtrack a little bit. I've been living in Ocala, Florida for just about a year and a half now, and I've taken wrestling bookings here and there. But man, the ultimate goal is to get a contract somewhere. I'm 27, 30's right around my corner. I'm not trying to be in my 30s without having a stable wrestling career. I feel like I'm doing pretty well. But, you know, I want to be somewhere. I want to have a contract somewhere. I want to be making good money, and I want to be able to support my family. And so throughout this whole coronavirus pandemic, my last match was February 29th against it was me, a guy named Blaine Rage, and Shane Chung against Dory Funk Jr. and the Steiner brothers.
That was it, February 29th.
Yeah. I've been in the ring. I've been keeping up my work and everything. I just spent a week last month with Dr. Tom Pritchard. Yeah, man, things are going very well for me. I'm doing a lot of WWE work lately. And so, you know, like I said, I'm just trying to get somewhere, and I'm trying to get a contract somewhere.
So Ocala, Florida, very close to the Amway Center. And
yeah.
so that's excellent. I don't want to ask you any WWE questions, so I don't want you to answer anything in case you're not allowed to. But we at Wrestling Travel, obviously, taking a huge look at that. What do you? Okay, well, you know what? I will ask you a WWE question. Have you been at the Amway Center when they have the Thunderdome going on?
Yeah, I was just there this past Monday. I was at Raw Underground.
That's cool. I mean, you were. I did see that on Twitter as well. So that's fantastic. I mean, well, just doing that little bit of extra work. Everybody that I hear that has done extra work for them in the last few years really raves about that locker room. The fact that they let the extra talent, you come in and they put you on that same level. It's quite a big difference, a very professional atmosphere for you guys to come into. That's accurate, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. One of the first guys that walked into the locker room to shake all the extra talent's hand was Bobby Lashley. And, Bobby's done some great things in this business. He's super talented. He's a beast in the ring or in the octagon. And for him to just walk into the extra talent locker room, say, "Hey, guys, good to see you all," shaking everybody's hand, that's the sign of ultimate respect,
And you're right. Like, he's Impact, WWE, the mixed martial arts. He is the freaking total package, man.
He really is. He's a really nice guy, and he's got my respect for doing something like that.
That's something that bothers me too. Not that we want to get into this. We don't want to name any names, but you can go into a locker room like that and have somebody that's huge name show you the ultimate respect. Yet you can go to a high school independent locker room and find no name Joe who's big timing you, and it just bothers the shit out of me. That's the same guy who doesn't shake your hand in the locker room and doesn't wipe his feet when he goes into the ring. I know I'm old school, but that really pisses me off. But when you see guys I talked to Road Warrior Animal, that same show that the Baron was on, he gave a seminar and he talked about different people. And he goes, "Man, if anybody can be cocky, I'm in every Hall of Fame there ever is. I can be cocky and I'm not." So these guys walking out, it's a great testament to these guys that have made it, and a way of giving back is to go into the extra talent locker room and comfort a guy, make him feel welcome, and then I imagine that boosts everybody in that locker room's confidence. Like, all right,
absolutely. Rhea Ripley was the same way at NXT, so she's definitely got my respect.
Yeah, dude, she's so much phenomenal talent there.
That's right.
And that's, dude, my hat's off to you for being able to be in that locker room and
appreciate it.
Be an extra talent. That's awesome. Hopefully some of those guys will be watching live on Fight TV if they're not too busy this weekend and catch, because that's another thing, Jake. This is another way for you to really get your name out there and be noticed. You're going to be, hopefully everybody that's close to Dallas gets a ticket and gets in there for a nice, safe, socially distant show. But everybody else who can't will be joining live on Fight TV. Is it business as usual for you when you know you're on a live stream, or is it you like, all right, I got to pull out a little extra here?
Man, every show that I'm on, every card that I'm on, I try to have match of the night. Like, I'll go out there and damn it, you're gonna remember my name whenever you leave that building, whether I'm first on the card or last. It doesn't matter. You're gonna remember who I was. So, and anybody who's watching the pay-per-view on Fight TV, I guarantee you're going to remember who I am.
And I'm going to sound like a pitch man, and yes, we are sponsoring, but they're packing about 5 days of wrestling with the expo and everything into 2 days, basically 1.5 days because it starts on Friday night, and $14.99 on Fight TV. You're going to get all this action. I mean, wow. I mean, you remember when we used to spend $50 on one pay-per-view?
Yeah.
So it's going to be awesome. And I was at Warrior Wrestling on August 7th, and Kyle Hessler was up there as well. We watched Warrior Wrestling have 500 fans at their stadium, socially distanced. They had security letting people in waves. The people you came with, you're 15 feet apart from everybody. They released everybody in waves. masks on, a circle around the ring. The fans couldn't go, and their ring crew was wiping down the ropes after matches. So I know that Kyle and Steve have not only your best interest in as the talent on the show, but the fans. I mean, this is a big welcome back to pro wrestling. February 29th to August 28th, how many months is that? I know your adrenaline's going to be jacked, and I know these fans' adrenaline are going to be jacked. You must just be chomping at the bit to go.
Man, I get nervous before every single match that I'm in. You know, I already know they're going to remember who I am by the end of the night, but it's like, you know, you get the butterflies in your stomach, and then you hear your music and you walk through that curtain and all that's gone, and you feel the energy of the crowd, and there's nothing like it. You just walk out there and then you're just in trance.
So 10 years on the road here, let me ask you this. You've been in the ring with some all-time greats, some great names. Can you this is a tough question, but can you kind of give me the best piece of advice or two that you've been given while in this business?
Well, the best piece of advice when I was first starting, and something I tell everybody when they're first starting out, it's real basic, real simple. Everybody knows it. Just shut up and keep your ears open, you know? And you never stop learning, you know, like the moment you feel like you're done learning, you feel like you've learned all there is to know, get out of the business. Just get out. Because then it's not going to be any fun for you anymore. If you really feel like you've learned everything you know, just get out.
You know, the thing I find too is that you might have been in the business for 10 years and somebody might be a greenhorn or 1 or 2 years in, and you still have something you might be able to learn from them.
You're absolutely right. And that's happened to me. I've learned from people who are 6 months in, 5 months, 5 years in, 10 years in. The list goes on and on. Like you will never stop learning in this business, whether it's a move, whether it's a piece of psychological advice for in-ring stuff, promos. Oh my God, you can never stop practicing your promos. I literally wake up every morning and use a hairbrush and just start talking shit to myself just to practice.
Yeah, that's one of the things I say during the pandemic, a lot of bathroom mirror promos going on. And I think I might have actually been talking about this with Matt Seidel, but it is, I've been a football coach as well, and it's just a matter of 3 people can tell you the same exact thing, and one person might put just a little different spin on it, and it clicks.
You're right. That's absolutely right.
That's true in pro wrestling. Now, beyond the pro wrestling, the Independent Expo here coming up in Dallas. I lost my train of thought for a second. Are you starting to get bookings back after that, or?
I've reached out to some promoters. Some promoters have reached out to me. Like I said, I moved to Ocala, Florida to get a contract somewhere, whether it be WWE, AEW in Jacksonville. You know, I want to make a career, and I respect everybody who's been on it, been going to these indie shows, and wrestling and working their asses off during this pandemic. However, I kind of just want to take a step back, stay safe, make sure that what I'm doing is worth my while, and I have more years in this business to come, if that makes sense. It's nothing against anybody or anything like that. I love the indies, and I will take the big opportunities. But right now I'm laser focused on getting a contract.
No, and that makes sense. And I imagine it would be different slightly if we weren't in the middle of a global pandemic. You got to watch what you're doing. I imagine you are, not to get into it, but I imagine anytime you're at the working for the WWE, your temperature's checked, you're getting tested and everything, because nobody wants to take any chances.
That's right.
Last couple of questions here, because I want to be as I always say, respectful of the time. If you had now Texas wrestling, I've been asking people. You grew up a little bit there. How long did you spend in Amarillo as a youth?
I was in Amarillo, Texas for 15 years.
Okay. Anytime I talk with anybody who's been in Texas, and it's been a lot these last couple of weeks, so I don't want to leave you off the list. I want to get talk to me about the Von Erichs and what they mean to Texas wrestling.
Man, the Von Erichs, it's a legendary name, man. I've had the honor and the privilege to just meet some of the Von Erichs, through being in Vegas at the Cauliflower Alley Club. And it's a legendary name, and I have nothing but total respect for all the Von Erichs.
Now, do you remember, you probably would have to go back on film, but the Von Erichs and the Freebirds feuding.
Mm-hmm.
So now you're going to be on the show. Have you ever met Miranda Gordy before?
I have. I was working out at Texoma Pro Wrestling, and she's been there quite often, and gotten the chance to meet her and talk to her a couple of times.
That's cool. And she is going to be in what I'm calling a knockdown drag-out with Jordan Grace.
Yeah.
Now, all of these matches that are happening this weekend, they're all what I would call locker room sellouts. I mean, how are you going to – they better have a monitor in the back for you guys, right?
I hope so, man. I that's another way to learn, man. You sit down and watch the match before you. Watch the match after you.
And the cool thing that I'm happy about guys like you and everybody is that you guys are all going to be in the same building. Talent from all over the world, all over the country said the networking opportunities are endless for you this weekend. And also you talk about you're going to have the expo part of it. You're going to have day 2, a chance to socially distance, but very safely do meet and greets with fans. I mean, how excited are you for that interaction?
So I'm excited to be able to see the fans again, whether I'm going to be keeping my distance or not. I am bummed about one thing. The shirt that I'm wearing right now, it's one of my brand new shirts. It's in the background behind me. I will not have these on hand. Some complications happened with getting the bulk order done in time. And so I won't have any shirts, but I will have a crap ton of pictures, ways that you can take pictures with me safely. But yeah, I'm super excited to meet all the fans. And like I said, I love the Indies, whether I'm there at the shows or not. I love watching the Indies. I love studying the Indies. You never stop learning. You can see a match from 2-3 years ago on some smaller show. You can still learn, I love everything about the Indies.
I'm the same way. I was invited down. It just unfortunately did not work out, but there's no place that I'd rather be than Dallas, Texas this weekend. Thankfully, Fight TV has come together. So my final question for you, my most important question, how do we keep track? Now, I love to hear that a guy's laser focused and wants to get that contract. So what that means to me and the rest of the wrestling fans out there is we need to know how to follow your progress and your pathway. Can you give us your socials?
Yeah, man. Facebook is going to be I'm Jake Logan, facebook.com/I'm Jake Logan. Instagram is @official_ I'm Jake Logan. And then Twitter is @I'm Jake Logan _.
Okay, more importantly, we would love those shirts, but let's say we're there in Dallas and you impress the hell out of us, like I know that you're gonna. We want those shirts. Would we go to your Facebook? Do you have Pro Wrestling Tees? How would we order your shirts?
Yeah, you go to prowrestlingtees.com/Jake Logan. And I have 5 shirts on there.
Oh, awesome. That's just the newest one.
Yeah, this one. Yeah.
Now,
thank you, Mark DeGrucci.
Now, are you saying you're just not going to have the newest one there, or you won't have any shirts there right now?
Unfortunately, I won't have any shirts, and I'm super bummed about it.
That's all right. We got Pro Wrestling Tees. It's 2020.
Yeah.
We can always go there and grab a shirt, but the cool thing is we can get a picture and autograph as a fan there. That's awesome. And even if we're 6 feet apart, just a chance to get to interact and talk with fans it's got to be a huge something you haven't done since February 29th. So
Absolutely. I mean, I'd be lying if I said I wasn't nervous about that, but I mean, you'll catch me with a mask on. So
absolutely. And what I want to let you know, what I noticed at Warrior Wrestling, when everybody got to their coned off area, they were allowed to take their masks off. And I saw hardly anybody that did. The wrestling fans, very respectful towards it. And that's the thing. I think the wrestling fans want you to feel safe and be as safe. I think you're going to find it very rare. And I always say this about the wrestling fans. Listen, I started this lockdown sessions so we could do a virtual pub crawl to raise money for the Red Cross. And this was the middle of the pandemic. And when people didn't know where their next dollar was coming from or if it was coming, we raised close to $3,500 for the Red Cross. So that's pro wrestling, no matter what. I always say if the mainstream people look down their nose at the talent or at the fans, pro wrestling fans and pro wrestling, one of the biggest group of people to give back to communities and stuff. And I'm a proud member, and I imagine you are too.
Yeah, man, absolutely. And you're doing great work, man.
Hey, thanks, man. We're trying to transition. We're coming back. We're gonna get people to wrestling events as soon as they allow crowds. But what we want to do is, it's been really awesome to be able to interview guys like yourself that maybe I would have never, because we're so busy doing the traveling, I would have never thought, hey, let's get to talk to these guys and get their stories. So Jake Logan, I want to invite you back anytime that we can here and catch up with you in the next couple of months here, maybe before Christmas, and just see what's been happening. Maybe have a little, we'll obviously talk about the Independent Wrestling Expo and what went down and what next for you. So thank you so much for joining us.
Hey, man, I appreciate it. I'd love to be back.